Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now have the on the second of our ideas worth exploring. Again, this is a new format this year at the Wellness Summit, and it's designed to make you think. We're going to give you relevant information, and there's no question or answers here. This morning we have three very interesting people to come up here and give you their ideas. We then want you to think on your feet, take the ideas away with you, and do with them what you will. So please join me in welcoming on stage Lisa Starr from Win Business, Susie Ellis from Spa Finder, and Camille Hoheb from the Global Spa and Wellness Consultants. Sure. Camille's going to start, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here today, and I wanted to thank the Wellness Summit for the opportunity to share, share insights, observations, and ideas. I've selected corporate health as an idea worth exploring because of its its broad reach with regards to strategic synergies, new business models, and concepts. And there's three key areas that I'll be focusing on today. One is that corporate health and wellness is an untapped market in the spa tourism, wellness tourism, and medical tourism industries. The second is the opportunity for spas to redefine themselves as lifestyle management providers, which we are already, but we don't position ourselves that way, thus leveraging ourselves within the $2 trillion wellness industry. And the third is, if we were to do that, then it would provide an enormous opportunity to change the lives of millions of individuals around the world. So Dr. Karina today spoke about wellness and the definitions of wellness, and I think we can all agree that it has a level of self-determination. It's a process. It's about choices, awareness, and education. And I thought the 8 domains of quality of life were a great way of representing wellness. So we have health, work, financial, belonging, personal safety, quality of environment, which ties into the earlier presentation today, emotional well-being, social relationships. And where I'll be focusing is on health, work, and financial, and how they're tied together. I think it's also interesting to note with regards to spas making changes in the last 5 years, there's been reports of spas that have really made some corrective actions to better meet the needs of the wellness consumer in terms of making some changes with their marketing strategies, with incorporating wellness-type modalities and making capital improvements. So, corporate health as a vital investment. In the United States, in 2009, $2 trillion was spent on healthcare annually. 95% of that was in treatment, only 5% in prevention. And the US is not alone. If you look globally, there was a report by the World Health Organization, which was referenced in an earlier presentation yesterday, that 60% of the worldwide chronic conditions are preventable by better lifestyle habits such as nutrition, more activity, less stress, smoking cessation. And I think this is really has been underscored in the fact that when we look at chronic disease conditions, not only is it expensive, but it's the level of suffering. There was a statistic yesterday that the last 10 years of life, the amount of suffering in the medical costs. So it's not only the individual, it's communities, it's states, governments, and globally that are affected financially with this. With regards to executive health and workforce wellness, whether you're an executive or whether you're part of the workforce, we're still seeing the same types of health issues. We're seeing that the stress levels are high, poor nutrition continues, there's an immense sleep deprivation problem and a sedentary life. So as those increase, we see a decrease in health. And I put this symbol of karoshi. Are there any Japanese delegates here? No. Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar with karoshi, it's occupational sudden death. It's actually tracked by the Ministry of Health. So it's those employees that are so overworked they have a catastrophic heart attack or stroke where they die. So when we look at corporate health, it's really broken into two areas. We're looking at executive health, which we're seeing a prevalence of medical centers and spa and wellness destinations that offer executive physicals and retreats. The executive physicals are basically with board-certified physicians with some lifestyle consultations and treatments in order to help the executive make corrective changes in their lifestyle. With regards to the workplace wellness programs, what we're seeing is it's really about managing the health of the employees. So it's about education and promotion. But spas have a very small part in this. Even though I think that we are great at lifestyle management, we're not actively and collectively working towards providing what I call spa health benefits. So we see companies like ConocoPhillips, perhaps, that has a on-site massage therapist that is self-funded, meaning the employee pays for the service, but the employer provides the service at the workplace. Or perhaps we see Google that also has massage therapists on site and pays for those services. We see also corporate memberships for employees to take advantage of discounts on massage. But it's more than just the occasional chair massage. We have hybrid spas now, which really speak to these lifestyle management tools of nutrition, of stress reduction, of mind-body medicine, but we're not framing it in the way that corporations, employers, insurance companies, the medical community can understand. So this slide really speaks to 4 different pieces of information. One is the most popular workplace wellness programs, stress and back being the most prevalent, exercise and smoking cessation. And then to the right you see the column where it's evidence-based clinical therapies. And we see a lot of these are being offered already in spas, perhaps not all of them such as art therapy or music therapy, but there is a possibility of synergy of including those. And then the lower right-hand corner is some terminology that I think that we would do well as an industry to perhaps incorporate into our language, again, to better meet the needs of this broad base of opportunity. So one of the concepts with regards to spa health benefits is increasing the level of engagement. And this is somewhat of a challenge for employer groups who have a general workplace wellness program, which is to increase their employee participation. And I think spas have a great opportunity to do that because of our reputation of being stress-free, of being relaxing, of a place of healing. We look at clinical studies and currently the industry doesn't utilize some of the clinical data that I think would be very compelling for employers, whether it's massage or mind-body techniques. And then with regards to, and Dr. Karina had mentioned awareness and education, I think that's so critical. And if we use some of the terminology, again, that's very recognized and would speak to the industries that we are trying to align with. So health promotion and health education, we're doing some of that, but not in a consistent fashion. And then again, using the term lifestyle management, which is what we're already providing. And companies are looking at return on investment. So the whole purpose of workplace employee programs is really to reduce the medical costs. It's to improve productivity. It's to boost employee morale. It's to decrease the rate of work injury. And where are the opportunities and synergies? I broke down left and right stakeholders and opportunities, and the stakeholders really are the buyers and the sellers, basically. And I see this in 3 different areas, not only in medical, not only in tourism and hospitality, but also wellness. So we sometimes forget and are neglectful of the tourism aspect of wellness. And on the right side are the opportunities: executive physicals, workforce wellness, concierge medicine, retreats, educational workshops, screenings and assessments. Is there a possibility for future workers' compensation? I'd like to think so. It would take a great deal of collaboration with regards to the medical community, and those conversations are already taking place at a very high level. What it would take would be to work with the clinical evidence and help persuade the medical directors of the insurance companies of these treatment modalities so that they are incorporated into the care plan. Again, I use future health benefits. I think it's important. Those phrases together are very important in the selling of this concept. And then we look at incentive and award travel. So I'm seeing blended concepts, such as the Four Seasons California Health and Longevity Institute, which offers, they have a 5-prong approach to health. They have an on-site medical facility with board-certified physicians, both an Eastern and Western approach. They have a 50,000 square foot spa, a 16,000 square foot fitness center, a state-of-the-art kitchen and registered dietitians for nutrition and educational classes. So it's comprised of group opportunities. Thank you. I'm almost wrapping up. Thank you. So there's an opportunity again for the tourism aspect of making wellness an attractive tourism product, and wellness-themed business meetings as well. So I have 10 ideas worth exploring. I'm going to read through them very quickly.
Don't worry, it's fine.
I think they are worth exploring. They could potentially have such an immense impact, again, not only on individual health, but on global health. And when Dr. Karina's subject matter was on the democratization of wellness, I think this is such a great example and would be would have, again, such far reach. So there's an opportunity to redefine the role of spas through lifestyle management, as redefining it as lifestyle management providers and workplace wellness programs, and thus position ourselves as an industry leader in the wellness industry. Spas have the ability to increase employee engagement, which I spoke about, because of our soothing environment, and the fact that conventional workplace wellness programs, most of them have a low rate of engagement. I think this would be a great solution to employers of raising that rate. By increasing the level of workplace wellness programs, spas have the opportunity to position itself and impact the health of individuals. In order to become lifestyle engagement providers, understanding and utilizing the clinical data is very, very, very critical, as well as the training to the therapists, to the staff, and to management. And I mentioned a little bit about leveraging lifestyle management providers and spas to MICE, to travel and meeting planners, to incentive and meeting planners. And what better way to invest in health? We talked a little bit today about social responsibility. I think this is one way of doing it. Encourage the spa industry. Another idea worth exploring is to be proactive in the healing process for under-discussed and somewhat stigmatized conditions, whether they're work-related or not. So what I'm speaking of, there was a number that was thrown out today. I think it was 2 million individuals that took a mental health day today. And in the US, there's 1 out of 4 that take a mental health day throughout the year. The rate of depression, the rate of stress, the post-traumatic stress syndrome, I think these are all kind of underplayed within our community and yet have such great impact to individuals and to the economy. And then to collaborate with a broad section of business organizations economically related. So again, the pulling together of tourism, of medical, and of wellness. So with that, I'd like to thank you, and I hope this was a catalyst for future conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Camille. The way you ended is exactly perfect for what I'd like to talk about. And I thank you, Michael, for letting me be here for 10 minutes to talk about something that, an idea that I think is worth exploring. It's something I'm passionate about, and it might be somewhat controversial. And that is this, that I think it's the time right now to clearly carve out a distinction between spa and wellness and medical. And I'd like to talk about this diagram very quickly. You see on the left-hand side wellness, and I put on the right-hand side illness, just to look at this as a continuum of, for example, on the left-hand side, this is where we're born, we're well, our bodies are healthy, hopefully, and if we end up with some illness, moving to the right, we will be moving a little bit away from wellness. But if you look on the bottom there, spa with wellness in the middle and medical on the right. Spa is about wellness approaches. It's about improving the quality of life. It's proactive. We've already talked about that yesterday and today as well. On the other side is medical, which I think we clearly see is hospitals and drugs. I'm talking about, clearly medical with hospitalization and drugs, etc. And then in the middle, there's this kind of a larger bucket now called wellness. And as has been mentioned before, the term wellness is new in our industry. It's really quite new. And I will think that down the road, I think we'll realize that wellness, that term coming along, has been one of the best things for the spa industry. Because when I started in the spa industry 35 years ago, there was no term wellness that we were using. And just as, in the last 5-10 years, wellness has entered our industry, it has exploded across the world. I've traveled quite a bit. I'm hearing wellness everywhere. And it has been a great term if, I think, at this time, we take the opportunity to clearly make a distinction between wellness and medical. So, I have to do this, right? Next slide. So, just very, from a picture point of view, if you think about spa, we think about the kind of things we do in spa, massages, facials, beauty treatments. Those kind of services would be clearly in spa. And we all kind of agree with that, right? That's sort of... Now go to the other side with medical, and there we would see the kind of things medical provides, and that would include all that's done in hospitals, drugs, etc. And we need that, and it's very important for a lot of reasons. And then, as we said, this bucket in the middle is wellness. And what are some of those things? TCM, acupuncture. Ken, you could do the whole list, right? But it's a little bit of a gray area. It is not exactly black and white, but it's a wellness arena, and the consumer is increasingly comfortable pursuing some of these modalities. And here's the reason I feel more strongly now than ever that we need to keep a distinction between spa and wellness, which I put in one bucket, and medical in another. And that is because of so many differences. Spa and wellness is more proactive, medical more reactive. There's a joy of living in spa and wellness. There's more of a fear of death in medical. Spa and wellness is about prevention. Medical is more about illness, quality of life versus cure. The culture in spa and wellness is about service and ambiance. The culture in medical is a lot about expertise. Spa and wellness, we're comfortable with ambiguity. And here's the big one, and that's why I put it in red. In the medical arena, there are regulations. And there are a lot of regulations. And they're important in the medical arena. And that's where we have to be very careful. We don't want to get caught in that. The consumer demand is clearly there for spa and wellness. Oftentimes, medical has a policy agenda. In spa and wellness, we can be entrepreneurial, as a lot of us have been. In medical, there's a little bit more of an institutionalized approach. Training-driven in spa and wellness, high education in medical. Income, you can see there's some differences. And sometimes in spa and wellness, we're a little bit whimsical. We do chocolate wraps, now and then. But in medical, it's serious. And what I see here clearly is that both are important. And we can encourage each other, and we can work together. But I think there's a danger in trying to integrate and work I think there's a danger to confuse the consumer, the media, even ourselves, if we try to integrate these two very, very different cultures. And I just wanted to mention, Camille, because this is a chance to be a little bit controversial. You mentioned the California Longevity Center, and it has a great model on paper. But if you go there, it's really not working, and in my opinion. And there's a lot of places that are really not working that have tried to put medical and spa together. It sounds good, but I would love for you to tell me which ones are really, really working, because I haven't found many. And here's the reason I think it's important that this is the time right now that we discuss this and perhaps debate it, because right now this conversation is happening at government levels all over the world. The governments are looking at medical tourism, they're looking at wellness tourism, spa tourism, etc., and they're trying to figure out what to do, because remember, the word wellness is new for them too. So what's happening is some ministries around the world are doing, or some governments are organizing in a couple different ways, and I've just given you, I think it's going to be 3 slides here. This is what the Philippines and Thailand are doing. They have a Ministry of Health, and they have put medical and spa tourism in one bucket. So that's how they're working, and we'll see it's all very new. It'll be interesting to see how it works. But Thailand also did this, and having spoken with both the medical people in Thailand and the spa people, it's become a big problem. For the medical community, the head of Blumengrad mentioned to me that when they put spa and medicine together, it was a negative for their hospital because it became diluted. It became diluted with spa. One thing you may not know is that the term wellness is not always popular with doctors. A lot of times they're very negative about the term wellness because to them it's more of the integrative arena. In addition, for the spa people, and Andrew Gibson had mentioned it in Thailand, once spa and medical were together, the medical community started regulating acupuncture in Thailand. So those have become problematic. Here is another way to organize, where you have a Ministry of Health, for example, and you have wellness tourism on one side, under which spa, mineral springs, fitness can live, and medical tourism on the other side. Turkey's organization is similar to this, and it does, that's how they're organizing. And I think that's a little better direction because there's a distinction between wellness tourism and medical tourism. Because remember, medical has all the regulations. It has, it's very defined. It's been around a long time. It's very clear. But then wellness tourism is an opportunity, and ecotourism and those kind of things can go there. But here is, I think, the most optimistic way of organizing, and some of the countries that are doing that, I think Australia actually is close to this. And you see the difference here is that you have Ministry of Health, under which medical tourism falls. But it's the Ministry of Tourism that's really, I think, where the spa and wellness industry wants to be. Because that's where we can do what we do without the constraints. We can do thermal springs, we can do fitness, we can do spa. We can say there's evidence for this, but there's not really all that much evidence for that. But we're experimenting here, and the consumer is fine with that, and we're fine with that. And we can be transparent. We don't have to say something works for sure if it doesn't, but a lot of people might want to try something, and down the road it might work. So to me, this is in my mind, and I've been around a long time, but to me this is how I'm seeing it now. If we can get wellness tourism to be under the Ministry of Tourism, and by the way, there's a lot of dollars that are being put into these ministries to promote, I think that is our best way forward. And let the Ministry of Health and medical tourism be where they are and support each other. We can be a feeder for medical tourism. If someone's already come to our country and tried our mineral springs and enjoyed our spa services, if they do need to have dental work or whatever, they might come to that country more likely because they've already been there. And then notice where I put the little arrows for medical spas. This is where it's going to be a little bit tricky because some medical spas are more medical and some are more spa. And the ones that are more medical will likely have to be under the medical tourism. and ones that are less medical, or maybe they use the term medical, and yet they don't have the more westernized medical degrees. They might be in the wellness area. So there is a little bit of ambiguity. However, I think in general, the way to divide it will be easier. And then finally, this is the last thing I'll mention. I don't know if you saw this in the New York Times. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago. There was a short article, and it was called "Massage Benefits Are More Than Skin Deep." Did anybody see it? Some of you do? Very good. Well, for our industry, it was fantastic. It was a study that was done where basically they took blood from X amount of people. It wasn't a large study. I think there were 60 people. They took blood, gave them a 45-minute massage, took blood afterwards, and saw a huge difference in relaxation, in cortisone, etc. And so these measurable results showed that massage, 45-minute massage, really, really made a huge difference in a person's relaxation and in their health benefit. Now that is an example of evidence-based medicine. And here's the caution that I would like to leave you with. When we start talking about evidence-based medicine, which is great and it's exciting, we don't want to slip into the medical arena. Just because it says here that massage is great benefit and acupuncture has evidence for it and other things have evidence for it, we still want to be in the spa and wellness bucket. We don't want to be in the medical bucket because we don't want to be regulated and we don't want to have that confusion. It'll be better for the consumer and it will be better for us, and in the long run I think it'll be better for the medical community as well. So that's my opinion.
So continuing on that theme, can you hear me okay? I don't have any slides, I'm sorry, for this presentation, but I wanted to share with you a story about this combination of medical and spa and a real-life example on a project I just worked on in the U.S. So my main job is as a consultant, and about 2 years ago I was approached by a medical practice in Texas. It was an oncology practice with 22 doctors. They had just built a brand new 100,000 square foot office building in the South Texas Medical Center, and they wanted to open a spa for their patients. So I went down to meet with them and the lead doctor, and I asked him the questions that you ask as a consultant, like, does it need to make money? And, it was very, no, we just want to help our patients do better and feel better, because with cancer and many diseases, if the patient feels good, they do better. Research shows that. It's so much about what we do, which is not measurable, but has that beneficial effect. So we proceeded with planning on this spa, which had been allocated about 2,000 feet, and it kept growing and morphing into a bigger project, and we got a prime spot on the ground floor of the building in the entry. Almost 4,500 square feet when it was finished. And they had hired a nurse, an oncology nurse, to be the wellness director. But she came to me because she said, I don't know anything about spas. And luckily they realized they didn't. So we started working on this project. I'm going to say February of 2009. It opened in August of 2010. And it was a very interesting journey for all of us, because you can have all these great ideas, but you realize there are complications, there are regulations, that the two groups of people don't always play nicely together, the medical folks and the spa folks and the various people that you employ. So it was an interesting journey. I don't have photos because it's too new and we haven't taken any photos yet, but it's a lovely spa. It's called Inspiritas. It is a beautiful retail area when you walk in, with products mostly dedicated to cancer patients and cancer care. So there are inspirational journals, there's aromatherapy, there's skin care, specific to cancer, and I don't mean a specific line, but sensitivity, rashes in the skin, dryness. There are greeting cards, there's some jewelry, there's a whole line of medical quality nutritional supplementation. We have a prosthetic and wig fitting department with prosthetic and wig fitters that's discreet and off the main floor. We have a counseling offices, spiritual counseling, guided imagery, nutritionist on staff. We have a yoga and meditation room dedicated to that and to classes. And then we have the spa portion, which has an acupuncturist and massages and skincare and facials, all predicated on cancer treatments, beautiful lounge, lots of water. So really interesting combination of services. And when we started researching it, I went around the country and tried to find models, and there really wasn't anything quite like this. Many of our hospitals are doing spa. They say they do spa, but it's not quite the same thing. Duke has an integrative medical center. The Bendham Center in New York at Memorial Sloan Kettering, it said they were a spa. I went to see it. It was bleak. Have you been there? It's not a spa. It's like an old office building bank. They put a few massage rooms in, you know. They do a lot of their therapies in room. So we went around the country to see the various models and realized that what we had didn't really exist. And sometimes you have to say there's a reason it doesn't exist. It's because it's hard to do. You know? So just because the space is empty doesn't mean you need to wade in with both feet. I think what we did is wonderful, and the patients were so excited, and the building is filled with survivors who are volunteers now, and they say, oh, we wish we'd had this when we were going through our cancer journey. We made it clear in our marketing that you don't have to have cancer to come to the spa. We realized there are caregivers in the building waiting while their person has chemo, that they can come down and have a service. We have an organic tea bar where you get a free cup of tea and you kind of hang out in the retail area. But it remains to be seen whether it will be financially viable and how much it will contribute to this business. And there were many regulatory challenges. In the U.S., we have a lot of regulation. Texas, in particular, has a fair amount of regulation. And so each little department has its own government clearance that we had to get and make sure that we pay everybody fairly and everyone works together. So I think it's really innovative and really interesting, and I hope that it's successful financially, but I think it is a wonderful thing to have. I just want to say that it's sometimes complicated. And as Susie said, sometimes medical things are best left to the medical folks, and we're on the spa side. This will be a great example to see how they combine and how we can touch the lives of the patients. Luckily, it's not a standalone business. I think if it was, that would have been a very big challenge. But the fact is, it's a very successful large practice, and whether this spa pays its contribution to burden, I think they'll still keep the spa. But if you're going to think about opening a business like this that's freestanding, you really want to carefully consider the challenges and then the marketing. As I mentioned, it's very hard to say, well, we're a cancer spa, but then how do you get people to come who aren't cancer patients and maybe say, I don't know if I want to be relaxing next to people who are dying. And so you have to consider that as well. So that's my story. Maybe next year I can fill you in on how well it's done or what the progress has been. And I think we'll take questions now if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you all very much indeed. For the ideas worth exploring, we're not going to go with questions because we really want people to think on their feet. We don't want you to provide them with the answers. But we thank you very much for some really great, interesting points there. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.